The Achievement Habit by Bernard Roth. Have you ever found yourself staring at a goal, a dream, a deep desire, only to see it remain stubbornly out of reach? You wish, you plan, maybe you even try, but somehow the wishing well stays empty, and the doing part feels like a mountain too high to climb. What if I told you that the gap between wishing and doing, between dreaming and achieving, isn't about talent, luck, or some magical formula, but about a habit? A habit you can learn, cultivate, and master. Welcome to this audiobook summary, where we'll journey together through the transformative pages of The Achievement Habit by Bernard Roth. We're about to explore how to stop the endless cycle of wishing and finally start doing, taking genuine command of your life. Imagine for a moment being able to unlock the blueprint for turning your aspirations into realities, not just once, but consistently. That's the promise we're diving into. Meet the architect of achievement. So, who is Bernard Roth, the guide on this journey? Bernie, as he's often called, is not your typical self-help guru. He is the Rodney H. Adams Professor of Engineering at Stanford University and the academic director and a co-founder of Stanford's renowned Hasso-Plattner Institute of Design, affectionately known as the D.school. For over 50 years, he's been at the forefront of teaching engineers and designers, but his impact stretches far beyond a traditional classroom. He's a leading expert in kinematics, the science of motion, and a pioneer in robotics. But here's the crucial point. Bernie Roth took the principles of design thinking, a methodology typically used to create innovative products and solutions for others, and masterfully applied them to personal transformation and empowerment. His Designer in Society class at Stanford, which began in 1969, has encouraged students to stop wistfully thinking about possibilities and start actually doing. This book, The Achievement Habit, distills decades of these powerful, life-altering insights and exercises. It's become a beacon for those ready to design a more fulfilling life, one achievement at a time. Are you ready to discover how? Warm the world through new eyes. Nothing is what you think it is. Let's start with a foundational, perhaps startling idea. Your life, as you perceive it, has no inherent meaning. Now hold on. This isn't a call for despair. It's a call for empowerment. Roth argues that we give everything its meaning: people, objects, circumstances, even our failures and successes. Think about that. If you assign the meaning, you also have the power to change that meaning. Imagine a student, Mike, who disastrously fails to complete a class project, a wearable, fire-powered pipe organ for Burning Man. Roth, his professor, was embarrassed for him and might have written him off. But years later, Roth encounters Mike at the same festival, now a key figure behind an awe-inspiring, massive robotic art installation, the Serpent Mother. The initial judgment of Mike as a slacker was just one limited perspective, one assigned meaning. This is what Roth calls seeing a yellow-eyed cat, encountering something that shatters your fixed worldview, based on a limited sample of reality. Have you ever held on to a permanent record of your own failures? Roth shares how a fourth-grade teacher's threat of a permanent record card devastated him, only to realize later it was meaningless. The F he received in a graduate physics course felt like a similar catastrophe, yet it had no real impact on his life. The truth is, often, the only one keeping a detailed scorecard is you. So, here's a challenge for you. Take a moment. Look around. Pick an object, a person, a past failure. Say to yourself, this item, person, event has no meaning. Then acknowledge that you have chosen the meaning it currently holds. Feeling a shift? That's the first step to reclaiming your power. The bullshit of reasons. Now let's talk about something that might make you uncomfortable. Reasons. According to Roth, reasons are often just bullshit. A harsh statement, isn't it? But he argues that they're frequently just excuses prettied up, preventing us from taking full responsibility for our actions and ultimately from changing our behavior. Roth himself used to be chronically late for board meetings, always blaming the unusually congested highway. But the real reason? The meeting wasn't a high enough priority in his life. Once he admitted this, he started leaving earlier, and the stress vanished. Think about it. A student late for class might blame a flat tire. But if failing the class meant expulsion, wouldn't they find a way to be on time? Flat tire or not? It's about priority. When we stop using reasons to justify ourselves, we open the door to actual change. This doesn't mean you become unreasonable to others. Externally, use reasons as social currency. Internally, however, question every reason you give yourself and those you hear from others. But that's not all. Roth points out that sometimes we even lie to ourselves about our reasons. A professor claiming he's too busy at work to spend time with family might actually be choosing to stay late to socialize and appear hardworking. The busyness is bullshit. Are you ready to look at your own reasons? Try this. For the next few times you state a reason for something you did or didn't do, just internally label it. That's a good reason. This playful sarcasm helps you see the excuse for what it often is. The point isn't to berate yourself, but to see where you're letting yourself off the hook instead of taking action. Getting unstuck. Are you solving the right problem? Feeling stuck is like being a drunk man repeatedly walking into the same lamppost, convinced he's surrounded. Sound familiar? Well, often, the reason we're stuck isn't because the problem is unsolvable, but because we're trying to solve the wrong problem. Roth shares the story of Krishna, a student whose project was to fix his broken bed because he couldn't get a good night's sleep. Week after week, Krishna reported new obstacles: wrong wire, wrong tools, missing springs. Finally, Roth told him he'd fail if he didn't solve it. The next week, Krishna was smiling. His solution? I bought a new bed. Here's the crucial insight. Krishna was trying to answer, how can I fix the bed? When the real question was, how do I get a good night's sleep? Fixing the bed was just one possible answer, and a difficult one at that. Buying a new bed was a simpler, more effective solution to the actual problem. When you feel stuck, ask yourself, what would it do for me if I solved this problem? Let's say your problem is, how might I find a spouse? What would finding a spouse do for you? Perhaps provide companionship. Now, your new, more generative question is, how might I find companionship? Suddenly, finding a spouse is just one option among many. Join a club, get a pet, take classes, meet friends online. You've expanded your solution space. You can even take it a level higher. What would companionship do for you? Maybe feel less lonely. The new question: how might I feel less lonely? This is a long way from find a spouse, and might even reveal that marriage wouldn't solve your core issue of loneliness anyway. Are you working on an answer as if it's the only question? Take a problem you're losing sleep over, write it as a how do I question, then ask what solving it would do for you. Turn that answer into a new question. See how the landscape of solutions changes? This is the power of reframing. The power of doing over trying. There's a universe of difference between trying to do something and actually doing it. Trying implies possibility, but also allows for failure without full commitment. Doing, on the other hand, involves intention and attention, a resolve to get the job done, no matter the obstacles. Roth uses a simple demonstration. He holds out a water bottle and asks a volunteer to try to take it from him. There's a tentative tug, some force. Then he changes the instruction. Please take the bottle from me. The volunteer, if they truly get it, simply takes the bottle, often with less force but more intention and power. When you do, you use power. When you try, you use force. Think about New Year's resolutions. Many of us try to keep them. How often do we actually do them? The shift from trying to doing often happens when a switch flips internally. Roth decided he would get his friend Harold a Russian Cossack uniform from the waiters at the Russian tea room. He didn't know how, but he would do it. And he did, through a quick, decisive, and slightly audacious plan. What about you? Where are you trying in your life when you could be doing? This isn't about recklessness. If doing something requires violating your ethics, perhaps the intention needs to change from doing to not doing. But more often, we stop ourselves. Bernard Roth emphasizes a bias toward action. It's better to start, even to fail, than to wait for the perfect path to appear. Failure, when you're truly doing, is a teacher. Oprah was fired from her first TV anchor job. Dr. Seuss was rejected by dozens of publishers. Edison found 10,000 ways that won't work for the light bulb. These weren't failures that stopped them. They were stepping stones. So, what's something you've always wanted to do but haven't? Instead of waiting until you're ready, hint, no one is ever truly ready. What's one small step you can do today? Watch your language. Words shape your reality. The words we use, both with others and ourselves, are incredibly powerful. They don't just describe our reality, they help create it. Roth highlights how subtle shifts in language can dissolve barriers to action and resolve internal conflicts. Consider the common phrase, "I want to go to the movies, but I have work to do." That "but" creates a conflict where one doesn't necessarily exist. The existential situation is often, "I want to go to the movies, and I have work to do," and opens up possibilities and dialogue. "But" shuts them down. What follows the "but" is often just a bullshit reason. Where are you putting your buts and blocking yourself? What about "I have to" versus "I want to"? Try this. Next time you say, "I have to do X," silently rephrase it as "I want to do X." "I have to breathe" becomes "I want to breathe because I want to stay alive." This simple change highlights the choices you're making, even in seemingly obligatory situations. It's empowering. Similarly, "I can't" often masks "I won't." Can't implies helplessness. Won't signifies choice and volition. Are you truly unable, or are you choosing not to? And then there are why questions in interpersonal communication. Asking someone, "Why did you do that?" can sound accusatory and put them on the defensive. Instead, Roth suggests using I statements. "I felt hurt when you chose Jane instead of me." This is direct, honest, and focuses on your experience. These aren't just word games. These are tools to reframe your internal dialogue and your interactions, paving the way for more effective action and more authentic living. Which of these language shifts can you start practicing today? Designing your self-image. What you can achieve in life is deeply intertwined with your self-image. If you see yourself as a doer, you're more likely to do. But how accurate is your self-image? And where does it come from? Roth encourages us to examine our role models, our parents, siblings, teachers. We often absorb their views on money, success, authority, and work without conscious scrutiny. Sometimes we define ourselves in opposition to them, yet their influence remains. Take a moment. What family views have shaped your life path? Which serve you and which are better off discarded? Interestingly, studies show that people are more concerned with reinforcing their self-image than with their specific actions. If you ask people to be voters, turnout is higher than if you just ask them to vote. To change behavior, Roth suggests, you might first need to change your self-image. But how do you get an accurate picture of yourself? Roth suggests an exercise. List 5 short descriptors of the type of person you think you are. Then, ask 5 friends or family members to do the same for you. Comparing these lists can offer valuable insights. Most of us, as psychologist Chris Argyris concluded, consistently act inconsistently, unaware of the contradiction between the way they think they are acting and the way they really act. Roth also introduces a powerful guided fantasy exercise where you imagine exploring a house in detail. Then, you describe the house again, but this time speaking as the house, in the first person. I am old and full of disorderly stuff instead of, it was an old house. In doing so, you project your own characteristics onto the house, revealing hidden aspects of your self-image. And what if you want to change your self-image? What if there's an issue, a habit, a limiting belief you're truly willing to be rid of? Roth offers a version of the truth process. It involves deeply and mindfully examining an issue you want to release. Give the issue a physical embodiment in your mind's eye, its size, color, texture. Recall every instance of this issue back to its origin. Re-examine the object. Has it changed? List everything you know is correct about this issue, then what you think might be correct. Then what you think might be incorrect. Identify physical sensations and body positions associated with it. Emotional states. What do you get out of keeping this issue? Be honest. Imagine being upset about it, then not upset. Repeat. Imagine writing on a whiteboard all the things and people keeping this issue in your life. Then erase what's no longer valid and push the board over a cliff. This process isn't about forcing change, but about achieving clarity and allowing self-limiting aspects to dissolve. Your self-image isn't set in stone, it's designable. The big picture, life, chance, and meaningful work. It's easy to get caught in the micro details of our lives and forget the bigger landscape. Roth reminds us that life is rarely a straight line. His own journey to becoming a distinguished Stanford professor was a series of improbable events and chance encounters, not a meticulously planned career path. From a misdirected conference invitation to unexpected phone calls that reshaped his research focus, opportunities often arrived unbidden. What does this mean for you? It means staying open to possibility, learning to enjoy the journey even when you don't know the destination, and not wasting precious energy agonizing over decisions when the future is inherently unpredictable. And what about work? In our increasingly automated world, what is the true purpose of work? Is it just a paycheck? Roth, drawing on thinkers like E.F. Schumacher, argues that meaningful work fulfills fundamental human needs. It allows us to develop our faculties, connect with others in a common task, and create goods and services for a becoming existence. It's not just about what you do, but your attitude towards it and the meaning you derive from it. Even in seemingly menial jobs, you decide how to see yourself and your world. Are you fulfilling others' expectations or your own? Many of us face pressure to follow a certain path, a family business, a sensible career. But if that path doesn't align with who you truly are and what you really want, it can lead to years of dissatisfaction. It's vital to revisit those core questions. Who am I? What do I want? What is my purpose? What do I really want? The things we take for granted, the unspoken assumptions about ourselves and society, form the very bedrock of our self-image and the meaning we give to life. By making these assumptions explicit, by daring to question what's too obvious to list, we can reclaim our autonomy. Remember, you are writing your own life story. What assumptions will you challenge today to make that story more authentic? Making achievement your habit. The final tools. We've journeyed through some powerful ideas, haven't we? From understanding that we assign meaning to everything, to recognizing reasons as excuses, to the vital difference between trying and doing. We've explored how to get unstuck, the impact of our language, and how to design our self-image. Now, how do we weave all this into a sustainable habit of achievement? First, reframe problems as opportunities. A problem isn't just something wrong, it's a chance to make things better, a vehicle for our life-giving forces. Life, at its core, is a problem-solving activity. Second, embrace prototyping in all areas of your life. A prototype isn't just for products, It's a way to test concepts, to learn, to move forward. It can be a conversation, a written draft, a small experiment. Got an idea for a screenplay? Don't aim for perfection right away. Create a crap-up, a quick, rough version just to get started and learn. This bias toward action, this willingness to create imperfect versions, is key to overcoming the paralysis of perfectionism. Third, maintain your focus. Roth shares his painful bicycle accidents, both rooted in a momentary loss of focus. This applies not just to physical activities, but to our emotional and intellectual pursuits as well. When you're working towards a goal, where is your attention? Are you truly present? Fourth, remember, it's usually not about you. We often inflate our importance in others' actions and moods. When someone doesn't return your call or seems distant, your first thought might be, "What did I do?" More often than not, their behavior has little to do with you and everything to do with their own preoccupations. Adopting the mantra, "It's not about me," can save a lot of misunderstanding and wasted emotional energy. And finally, cultivate intrinsic motivation. External rewards like grades or promotions can only take you so far. True, lasting achievement often springs from a deep internal drive, from working on something that matters to you. Think of Jaime Escalante, the teacher in Stand and Deliver, who motivated underserved students to excel in calculus against all odds, driven by his own belief in their potential. The core message of the achievement habit is to be the cause in the matter. Take full responsibility for your life, your actions, your experiences, even when things seem out of your control. Stop waiting for permission or for the perfect moment. So let me ask you a few questions to help these ideas stick. What's one reason you've been using that you now recognize might be an excuse? Can you recall a time you were trying when you could have been doing? And what might that shift in mindset have changed? What's the real problem behind a current challenge you're facing? If you ask, what would solving this do for me? And most importantly, what's one small, concrete action you will do? Not just try to do, to move closer to a meaningful achievement in your life, starting today. The journey to making achievement your habit isn't about a one-time fix. It's an ongoing practice of awareness, honesty, and action. As Bernard Roth beautifully puts it, your mind is trickier than you think, always working with your ego. But if you choose to, you can be mindful about controlling your intentions and attention to make your life and the lives of those around you better. Don't stop here. Continue your growth journey. The power to design a life of achievement is already within you. It's time to activate it.